In many ways, Zhou Dynasty was different from Shang Dynasty. There existed a golden period of Zhou Dynasty, which Confucius took as a model of ethics and politics. The Duke of Zhou, he was King Wu's brother. He designed a ritual system for maintenance of social political order. The first problem facing the new dynasty was how they could identify with the political and religious system of Shang Dynasty. The high god of the Zhou people was not called Shangdi, but rather it was called Tian. If there exists only a singular high god, they had to address the problem of identity of this high god. The Shang king had a monopoly of access to the high god, and through their ancestors, they could communicate directly with the high god. Now, Shang king Zhou was overthrown. He lost the mandate from the high god. It was Zhou king Wu who took his place. And King Wu was qualified to this position, the position of king. He won the mandate from the high god. How is it that King Wu established a means by which he could communicate with the high god? This time, the high god was not called Shangdi, but it was called Tian. It seemed that the Zhou people did not accept the communicative means used by the Shang people. The Zhou people thought that the high god was not bound to any royal lineage. The high god was universally accessible. The high god could bestow the heavenly mandate to anyone who is qualified to be a king. So here it seems that the high god was a transcendental being in the mind of the Zhou people. It is the role relation between the high god and the king that counts in a formal way, rather than the specific relation between the high god and Shang king Zhou. Nevertheless, although the role relation between the high god and the king is formally defined, the role relation itself can be implemented in a concrete context. Here, we still have a ritual community of the family. Within this ritual family, the high god seemed to assume the role of being a father, and the Zhou king Wu assumed the role of being a son. The high god was called Tian. The Zhou king Wu was called Tianzi, the son of heaven. So the relation between the high god and the king is a father-son relation. But this father-son relation is not built in blood ties. It has its base built in ritual structure. Within the ritual community of family, the king's biological father dwells in the luminous realm together with the high god. But the Zhou people did not emphasize kinship as much as the Shang people did. As a matter of fact, in the luminous realm, the ritual relation seemed to be more important to the Zhou people than the biological relation. Unlike the world of the living, the luminous realm is organized on the ritual principle rather than on the biological principle. In fact, the ritual principle is a cardinal principle that dominates the whole ritual system. It is in a ritual sense that an intrinsic relation between the high god and the king was established. The ritual relation seemed to be of more metaphysical significance than the biological relation, but it is more difficult to recognize than the biological relation in the actual context. The ritual relation is to be defined as a structural relation that is formed between the placeholder and the high god within the ritual space. This is the place for the king. And here's the question: who is to be assigned to that place, the place of the king? Well, this is a thorny question. The Shang king Zhou was removed from that place because he failed to satisfy the ritual and moral requirements. But what is to be done in order to meet the requirement? To whom is the mandate to be bestowed? No one knows. The Duke of Zhou spoke in the name of the king. I quote, "It was not that our small state dared to aspire to the mandate of Yin, that is, the Shang Dynasty, but that heaven was not with Yin. It would not strengthen its misrule. It helps us. Was it we who dared to seek the royal throne? Shangdi was not for them." Another quote: "In the announcement of the Duke Shao, the Duke pointed out to the Shang people that," quote, "when heaven put an end to the mandate of the great state Yin, the many wise former kings of Yin were in heaven." End quote. The former kings of Shang could not save King Zhou from falling away. Maybe they were not willing to intervene on behalf of their descendants. And the Zhou king Wu was qualified to take the place of king, and he was assigned to that place. It was in the same way that Shang king Tang, the founder of the Shang Dynasty, he took the place of the Xia king. The Duke of Zhou, in an address to his fellow regent, the Duke of Shao, the Duke of Zhou said, "An implacable heaven sent down ruin on Yin, and Yin has lost the mandate, and Zhou has received it. Yet I do not dare to say whether our foundations will always abide in prosperity, or whether it will end in misfortune. Heaven's mandate is not easily preserved. Heaven is hard to rely on." So we have two examples to show it is rather difficult to recognize the ritual relation. Although the ritual relation between the high god and the king brings out uncertainty and even anxiety from the royal family, it provides a formal basis for power transference. A political system is designed in which all the political positions are structurally defined. The system is a network of political relations. The heaven, the son of heaven, the duke, the noble, the ordinary people are related on the ritual basis in this community, in this ritual community.